Chapter 12 of Glass Houses. "You, Buzz! Are you all right, Buzz?" "He'll come around in a minute. I shot him in the shoulder. Painful, but not fatal. Buzz!" It was Olivia. She stepped down into the cabin from the polished wooden door. She was sliding a small white revolver back into her purse. "Of course, it would serve him right if it was fatal. Here, help me turn him over." Marilyn pulled herself out of a deep lethargy. Moving her arms and legs was like first moving after sleep. It was as if she had forgotten which nerves could tell which muscles to move her. Buzz was breathing a noisy, rattling breath. She had heard that sound when her grandmother lay dying in the hospital. The breaths were harsh, as if they were violating his body's peace. "I couldn't have missed, could I? Yes, it appears I have punctured a lung. Buzz, you've got to come round, Buzz. I've made a slight miscalculation, and you've got to put forth a little more effort." "Olivia," Marilyn's voice sounded strange to her. "Olivia, it's you!" "Why, of course it's me, dear. Who did you think it was? Buzz, Buzz, wake up!" Marilyn tugged at Buzz's shirt. She tried to turn him without touching his skin. He was heavier than he looked. His muscles relaxed, his face relaxed, lolling in an embarrassingly intimate way. His pants, which he had never quite managed to zip shut again after his assault on her, gaped open, and his genitals lolled too softly, delicately, a rosy brown against the kinky hair. She tried to pull his pants over them, but they were tucked taut under his weight. She covered him with a coverlet. She worried about hurting him by pulling him around in different positions. "Don't worry about hurting him. He was going to kill you." He was surely bleeding to death. The blood was soaking through his clothes and was making a deeply wet spot on the rug beneath him. When she got his shirt pulled back, she saw that the bullet had torn a red hole in his chest. The blood spurted out of the hole in two thin, rhythmic fountains, spurting inches in the air and then splashing softly back as if to refill what it had emptied. Marilyn jammed her fist into the warm, sticky place, and the blood oozed around it. She could feel a suction forming as the blood tried to get out. "Forget it," said Buzz. "Forget it. Run it again." His voice was thick, but strangely alert. "He's dreaming." His breathing rasped harshly. His eyes stared wildly at nothing. "Buzz, dear," said Olivia, "do please try to pull yourself together." Buzz looked at her through puffy, alarmed eyes. "Who are you working for?" he said. "I was just about to ask you the same question," said Olivia. "Don't you know?" "Well, now that you mention it, I think I do." "I thought so. I thought you were getting close." "You're an amateur, Buzz. You're too careless." "But that other, I meant that, Libby. That was real. Between us. Real." Olivia's eyes narrowed, and then she turned away and stood rigid as if she were angry. At her feet, Buzz lay soft, immobile. Olivia had been too good at shooting Buzz. She had done it too calmly, too skillfully. You didn't get good at things like that without practice. It was a skill, like typing, like making love. You needed to do things like that over and over to smooth the rough edges out of your movements, to accustom yourself to the actions so that you could do them calmly. Marilyn was getting better at danger herself, and her own emerging skill gave her insight into the fact that it was a skill. Buzz appeared to have fallen asleep, but he woke with a jerk. "We can be partners, Libby, partners! You must have been the one who stuck the device on her, huh? Followed her? How did you know? How did you know the Yeti would take her? What were the papers for, Libby? Did you think I'd fall for an old trick like that? What was I supposed to do with them?" Olivia looked at him curiously, then picked up the transcript from the chair. Marilyn made just the slightest move, just a hint of a movement to come, and she stepped away. It wasn't going to be any use trying to grab them away from her. It was as if she was stuck to Buzz. She pulled her bloody hand away from him. The blood spurted up after it, as if in a rush to make up for lost time. Buzz looked up at her and met her eyes. He understands what's happening. He smiled, an unbearably intimate smile. She shoved her hand back in his chest. She wasn't going to be able to stop Olivia from reading the transcript now anyway, and she knew it. Olivia paced back and forth around Buzz's limp body, her heels clicking on the mahogany, then muffled by the rug. She slapped the transcript against her thigh pensively and leafed through it again. Buzz's voice was very weak. "I like the part about balkanizing. What was I supposed to do with it, Libby?" His color was very bad. "That's the part I can't figure out. Pordna karata can't born." The rasping breath stopped. Marilyn waited, her own heart waiting too, everything waiting, and finally another breath came, and another. 2, 3, 4 breaths came, and another. "I didn't know that thing was on me, Buzz," she whispered. "I didn't know she was following me." 3 more breaths came, and they stopped again. She leaned close to him. Was the air sliding softly into his lungs, so gently she couldn't hear it? "Poor Buzz," said Olivia. "But it serves him right, doesn't it, threatening you that way? Have you read this? Here, take a look." She extended the transcript to Marilyn, but both Marilyn's hands were buried in Buzz's bloody body. "Oh, you can withdraw the first aid now, I think, dear. He's quite dead." A powerful tug, powerful tide tugged at her, holding her to Buzz. "Don't give up. Maybe he's still alive." Olivia's calmness was like an obscenity to her. "Don't ever let me get like that. Don't ever let me get so used to it I don't care anymore." "What are you clinging to Buzz for? He really was an awful man. He would have thought nothing of killing you. And besides, he was a criminal sort, dear. Here, come into the bathroom and wash your hands and help me figure out this silly document. Why, we can be detectives, Marilyn, you and I." Marilyn lifted her fist experimentally from Buzz's chest. The thick, sticky mass made a sucking sound as her weight parted from it, but the blood did not spurt out. She began to believe he was really dead. "My, you do look unhappy. Don't take it so hard, dear. He was expecting to be killed. He lived that sort of life. You weren't in love with him, were you?" Olivia's eyes gleamed too brightly out from the tiny slits she allowed them. Had she been in love with Buzz herself? Why had she shot him, really? Was it to protect Marilyn, or could her reason have been anger? "No," said Marilyn, "I wasn't in love with him." "Good. Then pull yourself together, love. Here, hold your arms out." Olivia washed Marilyn's hands as if she were a small child, and scrubbed her face, then scrubbed her elbows, her sleeves pulled up as far as they would go. When she was a child, Marilyn had had a book of pictures which looked at one way were one thing, and when looked at another way turned into something entirely different. For instance, an old man walking down a road with a cane might become a pretty young girl's face, or a bear might become a landscape. Sometimes, even when you knew the girl was there, it was just impossible to see anything except the old man once you had started looking at him. That was because the pieces of the picture all fit so neatly into place. Marilyn had found out that the trick to letting yourself see the girl was to squint at the picture till you could see nothing at all, and out of the blur would come the girl's face. This was the way she was looking at Olivia now. Olivia, who had known she spent the night at the J&J, who had set her up to be killed in Carol Peabody's apartment. Was she the owner of the little tracking device Buzz had found on her bra? And if so, how had she managed to plant it? And had she used it to follow Buzz here? What for? To steal the Yeti from him? How could she have known Marilyn would be kidnapped along with the Yeti? How had she gotten on the boat? The new picture was coming into focus, but its parts were still unreadable. In the new picture, Olivia was a very dangerous woman indeed. Did you know Carol Peabody was trying to kill me, Olivia? Tried to kill you? My, I never guessed she had it in her. But you never can tell about these compulsive housekeepers, can you? Very unpredictable type when they decide to fall apart. By the way, dear, when was that piece device supposed to be detonated? Tomorrow? Yes, I see. You have the most expressive face, love. You should have been an actress. There's a great demand for expressive faces on the silver screen. Yes, tomorrow, of course, Peace Day. When else? So all that fuss about the creature was just a way to divert attention from the truly evil plans you were making, was it? Well, I'm quite sure that's the way you justified it to yourselves. But I would think that underneath your pragmatism there might have been just a bit of poetry, theater. Perhaps your president is afraid he won't be remembered unless he satisfies that extraordinary need for entertainment value you Americans seem to have developed. What time in the morning? At dawn, I suppose. The bastards. Dawn here, that is, with the rest of the world in darkness. To maximize the effectiveness, they would say. They have no notion of the tragedy behind these words. Have you ever been in London, my dear? No, of course not. It's the most beautiful city in the world. People sleeping all around the countryside. People are sleeping as the poison creeps towards them. No way to warn them until they wake up and turn on their tellies. It's quiet, you know. No taste. You can't hear it. You can't smell it. My parents are in Devon. Of course, they're very old. To maximize the effectiveness? No, so the American public can watch it happen live on television so they won't feel left out of it. Bastards. They'll probably get me for this, but I feel the need to sacrifice myself for the good of the larger organism. No, 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 dear. Don't even think of trying to stop me. I dare say my loyalties are harder to arouse than some, but once activated, they are, I flatter myself to think, equal to your feeble flappings around. She weighed a brass trophy in her hands, rejected it, and chose another. Oh, Milton, she called in a musical voice. Milton, in here. After a moment, the cabin door opened and Korak appeared. Marilyn stepped forward, her mouth open to warn him, but it was too late. Olivia had bashed him with the trophy, and he fell on the floor. We aren't barbarians around here, dear. I've hardly hurt him at all. He'll be perfectly fine. Give him my love when he wakes up, and tell him I'll meet him in Cairo. Then she disappeared out the cabin door. Marilyn could hear the rustle of a log, and then nothing but the ship's engines roaring. Oh, wait a minute. It didn't work. Okay. Stop. Oh, here, stop. Stop. Uh, here.